entitled to? Is it illegal?
Not to get a salary?
Yes.
First of all, in fact,
for you not to pay the workers that have worked for that man already. Is it illegal?
Let me help you very
I want us to balance the illegality and the legality.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is that how, if it is, yes, it is not right not to be paid.
It is not right.
Yes, it's not.
It is illegal as well.
It is illegal as well.
Right.
Now the question is,
really,
listen,
meaning that there are two people that are wrong here.
Innocent. Listen, let me give an example.
Right.
That is why when you are treated unfairly, there is a procedure on how you address what they do. If today, here where we are seated, I take this and break the camera, that camera, I break it. You are not going to stand there and beat me up. Isn't it?
Right.
Why? Because the law does not allow you to stand up when I've made that mistake to beat me. It is saying, take me to police.
Right.
That is the point that I'm trying to make here.
Right.
The law has said when the doctor has filled and treated any, it's not just a doctor, any employee. For instance, this cameraman here, if he's not paid today and tomorrow he says, I'm not coming for work, you will say it is okay because we didn't pay him. There is a procedure how you have said, if we don't pay you, this is how we are going to complain. So it is not that the challenges and the issues raised by the resident doctors is unique or it is not genuine. They are genuine complaints. From where we are standing as Ministry of Labour, we are saying your complaints are genuine. The issues they are raising are genuine. But don't use the wrong procedure to deal with a genuine complaint. Because you lose the genuineness of your complaint.
According to them, they are saying they have been, in a conversation with your office, among other offices, in addressing this issue in a quest to get a proper response or to get helped. But all those efforts have not yielded results. And that was the only option they could do, maybe resort to.
Let me tell you one thing. If you ask, yesterday I was on Diamond television with the resident doctor's president.
Right.
He doesn't know where the Minister of Labour is. He has never been there. Because if he had been there, would have guided. And to guide, it is you in need who goes to look for guidance. It is not the Ministry of Labour in need of the guidance. No. It is you who is looking for a solution. So you go looking for the solution in the right offices. Because this is a labour matter. If they had come to
the Minister of Health here. I mean, you are one and the same
and
people.
I'm telling you, you see, first of all, when you are beaten here, if you are sick, you go to a police station. Where do you go? You go to the hospital, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
That's the point. You can't have a labour problem, go to Ministry of Health. They are not the ones to deal with labour matters. There is a ministry in charge of labour and social security.
So your office was not aware
we are not aware about these issues. We were not aware that they were even doing what they are doing because we first of all told them that you are wrong people to do with this one. This belongs to the trade unions. Now, that is where now government comes in. Because the issues they were tabulating the medical doctors, the trade unions were aware. You understand?
Right.
How were they aware? They are the ones that represent the workers. The resident doctors don't represent the workers. So they were not getting part of the discussion. So they were not aware that in this matter, first of all, the liquidation, 500 million, was earmarked in the budget to dismantle what? Arrears and arrears. For the entire public service, not one specific ministry as Minister of Health. No. It is for the entire public service. Njala won't say, doctor, won't say it. And that is why government looks at the interest of everybody in a balanced manner. So when government was looking at this balanced manner, they engage the sector unions in the public service. And they are the people that actually raise these concerns to say we want to see how this is going to be brokered. We want to see that this debt is what is liquidated. Now, the doctors, they are not party to that process.
Right.
So they hijacked this process. And when they hijacked this process, they did not understand
from the trade unions.
Yes, they did not understand the provisions
and
of
not
the law.
Even the trade unions leaders informed you about this matter.
No, no, they're obliged. You who is doing it, you're the one who is obliged. So them they can. It's like you see, if you are doing a criminal matter, a criminal thing, the only thing they can report if they so wish. But the other thing, the police can take its course if you are doing something. You see? So the trade unions came also to be aware about this strike. Now, this is within the labor market.
Maybe
now,
I'm behind a little bit.
Yes,
I'm behind a little bit. You are saying these people are being represented or were represented by the trade unions.
Okay.
Is that right?
Which people?
Yeah.
The doctors.
The doctors, yes.
No.
They were not.
The doctors are not represented by the trade unions unless they belong to one. That is one thing. But
who represent them? Which union is supposed to speak on their behalf? Or
wait a minute.
yeah.
That's why I said if you are not don't belong to the union, you have the terms and conditions.
Yes.
That's where you see it. In that terms and conditions, there's a grievance procedure. There's a way you can complain, all the way up to the minister and everyone else in that process. And there's a way that you can take the matter out as the ministry. There is. In the public service, by the way, it has the best procedures in terms of how you escalate things. Now, if you don't, you jump steps, 1, 2, 3, you say, I will only do 1 and 3, I will not do 2. Immediately.
So in this case, which step was jumped? Which step would you say was skipped?
In going on a strike?
Yes.
I told you that essential workers, where do they go when they are aggrieved? It's a court process.
Right.
Why did they go to court? Being essential workers, because they have no recourse for a strike. But the law says, if you have a gun, you can go to court. Why did they use that option? But we came to understand that our colleagues may not have been aware about this provision.
Of certain matters, yeah.
So this is why we come back and say, okay, guys, we hear you. Some of these things were done without understanding this. So now let's bring you to an understanding. And then your issues to be addressed. Innocent, in labor relations, once you withdraw labor, you terminate conversation. I can't be conversating with you when you withdraw labor, because I can promise what I cannot do to just make you go for work. That is why we don't allow people when they're on
right now.
May be lost.
Just because, exactly, just because of these people that have decided, or that are not happy. And I was thinking on my own, like, if you want, your country to get embarrassed to the international community, there are a lot of sectors, but pick the health sector as well as the education sector, very critical sectors of the economy. Why is government taking so long to answer or to address these plights of these people?
Okay, let me try to give you a slight background,
sure,
so that you understand why it has been difficult. Because it is not the only sector with those unique challenges. A government has the whole approach. For instance, okay, today we say the whole 200 million that has been, let's give the medical practitioners. What do you make of the teachers? What do you make of the nurses? What do you make of other civil servants? What do you make of the police? What do you make of the defense force? So tell me what the signal will send to those.
So are you confirming? To say the government is owing people in all the sectors?
Yes, I'm telling you that the dismantling. This is what we call personal emolument related arrears.
Right.
So that's why government places a budget and say, this year we will liquidate, we will start to liquidate across everybody.
Right.
It's a whole government approach. Now, unless you tell me that is so wrong. So the approach is not to just appease one sector, no. It is a whole government approach sector. Now, first of all, it is not the salaries. There's no one who is doing all the salaries here. Because there's a...
But you saw you saw their demands,
Innocent. The truth of
salaries
the matter,
are part of it.
The truth of the matter, right now, the claim from the doctor is not on the salaries. It is only accrued. Maybe a settling allowance that has not been paid.
Sure.
Maybe which has not been paid. Mind you, for the doctors and the health sectors, there was a COVID response, which required people to immediately get the health personnel in a job to save lives. So there are things that accrued, which government planned to say, okay, this has accrued, so we will be able to liquidate as we go on. Now, and this is not something that has not been explained. Innocent, you know where the problem comes in? If I sit down the way I'm sitting with you, and I explain to you the challenges, I explain to you the roadmap, and then you agree when you are seated, then you go out there and do another thing.
Right.
Now, you see, that's why I said doctors are respectable people. the epitome of leadership, the epitome of trust. So we expect that they should be able to provide.
But they feel not respected from government side as well.
Tell me,
you're appreciating their services right now by saying they are respected people, but they feel not respected.
It's one thing to feel that way, but you see, government wants to respect all public service workers, but only the doctors are on the top range.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So we are not going to disrespect other hard-working nurses, for instance. Hard-working lab technicians there, the people that belong to the biomedical, they are people that are critical to ensure that the doctor is pushed and things work for him. How do we view those people? With the similar challenges. That's why government, and you must understand that this has not started because of this government. No, it is some time back. These are good beyond certain people, 2012. So government this time made the commitment to start breaking what has been created in the past. Now, when they are doing that, then you come and say this is so wrong. Get all the money. It's not possible. The resource envelope must be shared across. And also recognize, if you see the figures, you find that 20 million right now. 20 million is the Minister of Education. 15 million is the Minister of Health. I'm glad that my Minister of Labor is 2 million. You understand the differences?
Right.
So all these ministries, all of them, is a whole government approach. Now, the worst part is, and this is you must understand.
Right.
So are we saying that, okay, the doctors should not follow procedure?
And they should, of course.
And if they break procedure, should there be consequences?
What is mandate? What's the mandate of that association?
Association promotes integrity, professional integrity of the doctors.
So in this case, they are offsite, their boundaries, their duties.
Completely, they are off rails. Off, not in a small way, in a big, big way. And you see, they are registered under the Register of Societies. And they are now taking, you see, matters of labor relations. So they violated two things here. One, they violated the only existence of Society of Registrar, and they violated the Industrial Labor Relations Act. And we shall inform the Registrar of Societies. Right. Because we shall just be telling the truth. We say facts, isn't it? We should produce facts. So we will say, these colleagues of ours, they were formed to do professional integrity of this. But now they've come to the Ministry of Labor, where they want to to behave like a union. Using which mandate?
Is that another threat coming from the PS
How is it
now,
a threat?
the Minister of Labor?
No, but
we read another, warning coming from the police IG.
No.
Mr. Kakoma Kanganja, that also, spoke. He also issued a similar, terminologies.
You see
that, if possible, if they continue with their so-called illegal strikes at UTH, of course, he's going to move in, or he might move in and deregister the association. But again, you are echoing the same sentiments. Are these trying to threaten the people that are grieved? Instead of maybe in fact, giving them what is due to them?
When you are grieving, it doesn't give you the leverage to break the law. Does it? Does it mean that when you are grieving, therefore you should break the law? And I've told you, Section 107, what it says about a police officer can arrest an essential worker who is inciting people to go. So is that a threat? It is the law. Now, if you say, I should not speak about the law, it is a threat. A threat, if it's not backed, threats are things that are not backed by law. If you assault me, I tell you, if you assault me, I'm taking you to the police station. I'm telling you to reflect on yourself, that this is a possible thing that can happen.
At what point, PS, do you involve in the police? Whenever there's a strike, at what point do you involve in the police to help you handle such a scenario?
Look at this. The goodness with the government this time, the poor government, is that even where there is this, all these powers which the law provides for, we take the path of constructive engagement, social dialogue. Even when there's these powers, you understand what I'm saying? There are these powers that are clothed with the law enforcement officers, there is what, but we take the path of what? Constructive engagement. Come to the table. We know are outsiders, but you can play a critical role.
Right.
And then you sit down and talk to them and educate them. In labor relations, prosecution is the last thing we do. the first thing is to educate you on your rights and obligations. We tell you to say, this you can do, this you can't do. If you do, this is what will happen. Now, that is not a threat.
Right.
Because we're telling you of your rights, and then we tell you of obligations. Now, if we tell you those, then you say, I will not do my obligations, but I want to exercise my rights. That is when the law comes in to take you back to your obligations.
Educate the people, PS. My question is too hanging. Is the police eligible to deregister a society like this one? Or an association like this one?
Yes, they say. They are registered, the society, the registrar of societies, who is sitting where? In the Ministry
of Home Affairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
You understand it?
So is the IG mandated to deregister such kind of an association?
Okay, I didn't hear
There's
the
a
IG.
statement actually.
No, I didn't hear the IG say that. I would be wrong to start saying, no, the IG said this. But I'm telling you to say, the mandate sits in Home Affairs. And when you break the rules for which you are registered, you should be kept as a society. Should you be kept? If you come to Ministry of Labour, we tell you don't engage yourselves in labour relations matters and association, and you continue. We should stay quiet and we shouldn't report you. Is that what the guidance is? No. When we tell you don't listen, that is when we take you to police. We don't take you to police the first time we are advising you. We don't do it that way. Or else we'll be taking everyone to police. We'll be taking every employer, everything, every little thing, you're taking people to police. That is not the route. The route with labor relations is social dialogue. You sit down and talk. Constructive engagement. Now the point is, if we guide you not listening, then the law takes its course.
When are you likely, again, I will repeat my question. I hope this time around, PS, you are going to be sincere to the people of Zambia by responding to this question in a very straight manner. Okay. When are these doctors likely to be paid? Or when is the government likely to resolve these matters so that we can secure people's lives? Okay,
good. Are you aware today there was an announcement which was made by the person in charge, the permanent secretary in charge of the public service, to say 200 million has been released across the public sector?
Not for the doctors alone.
But you see, that's the thing, and I'm trying to push you away that it is not one group.
Right.
Because if we say the doctors, what about the nurses?
Right.
What about the teachers? What about the men in uniform? The defense? What about a registry officer in a ministry? What about community development officers? What about labor
So in
officers?
short, that money, that 2 million,
is
will be shared
across government departments depending on the size and the need.
Right.
So the even health is there. So it is not to say, let's just deal with this group alone. No. Government doesn't, there's no government which can take that approach.
And I want to remind you that there is actually a reaction coming from the suspended president himself, Dr. Sampa, who has described this 2 million kwacha as a joke. That's according to him.
20 million?
Yes, that the money that has been released by government. According to him, this is a pure joke.
You see,
because the money that government is owing them is a lot of money. And they cannot accept this amount of money to be distributed again with other sectors.
Let me give you some good statistics that came from them. They said there are about 500 doctors that have not been employed, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how many are striking? There could
Is
be
it 300? Yeah.
There could be 200, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which means there are more people seeking for those jobs.
Right.
Than there is people that are not happy, isn't it? There is also an option. In employment, you are not forced. If you think that this is so draconian that you leave for others that can accept that. It is a provision within what? The employment law. You don't hang to what is not working. You leave. But you can't relegate your obligations. Let me tell you one of the things. In the Industrial Labour Relations Act, there are employees' rights and employers' obligations. You don't go, for instance, who should be recruited is not a worker's. Right here, the person at the camera cannot decide who is going to be recruited in Muvi TV, isn't it? It's a preview of what management, isn't it? So there are certain rights that are managements. Who is promoted? Who is recruited? You cannot say, until you recruit this person, therefore I will stop work. No, you can't do that. It is not your right. You understand? Who is recruited, who is promoted, it is not within your powers as an employee. So these are some of the things we need to bring them to speed to say, wait a minute, there's a thin line here. The law provides for this. You can't cross this path. Because then there will be anarchy. We stop anarchy. We are saying, let's get back to the discussion. Let's back to social dialogue. Let's sit down and have constructive engagement. Understand the challenges, understand the plan. But if you choose not to understand the plan and say, I will withdraw labor until mine alone is heard, there is nowhere on earth. I have worked in that ministry for over 15 years, and I've traveled across the world. There is no country. So someone can come, I can challenge someone to come and show that when these processes have been done, you still go on strike and you still have a job. You may not have it.
I want us to beat time. Yes, there are a number of questions here. There are a number of questions that I still have for you, but I want us to cruise for the interest of time. But for the people that are watching us, this is a special interview. My guest is PS Chanda Kaziya from the Ministry of Labour, of course, providing answers regarding the happenings at UTH. Remember, Ask Muvi is live, and also Utunensu Nachagwa is also live. So ensure that you follow us. I'm sure you are able to follow the PS in a segmented manner. And if he's unable to provide the answer that you want, and then I'm sure next time you'll be able to do that. But we'll try by all means to do just that. I want to find out in terms of the mechanism that government uses in addressing strikes or riots, or be it, no, let me not bring the issue of riot, but let's talk about the strikes as well as go slow.
Yes.
It appears that government maybe is, I don't know if the government is failing to find better mechanisms of handling workers that maybe are protesting and the likes, apart from using guns, apart from using tear gas, apart from using, arresting people and the likes. Just like we saw that maybe somebody was accusing your government. He was accusing the police that some of the workers were arrested by the police. Although, of course, there's a clarification from the police that no one was arrested. Someone was only called for interviews regarding this issue. Yes. But for the benefit of those that are doubting us right now, really, what mechanism are you using to address the plights of workers in Zambia, apart from the machineries?
Do you know why we have had a stable labor market in the past? It's because of social dialogue.
Right.
It's because of constructive engagement beyond social media, beyond the public spectacle.
Right.
There is a tripartite consultative labor council where we sit and discuss matters. Now, when you say what makes people react to arrest? It is when there is a fundamental breach of peace and security. The police will not spare you, innocent, anywhere on earth. And in fact, anywhere, somewhere else.
You'd qualify that to the scenario that happened at UTH, that there was a breach of security and peace.
No.
At UTH, in fact, for example.
Let me tell you, innocent, in an ideal situation where people are not even talking, I've read to you what the law says, isn't it?
Right.
It's arrest without what? Warrant when you take part in that strike. That is what the law says. Now, the police don't have time. They enforce the law.
Sure.
Now, at times, just colleagues, before you enforce the law, let's allow us to have this interface with the people. Now, the problem is that when we tell you to say, let's have interface, you refuse. There's nothing else. You don't give options. Give options, okay, to say, okay, if you don't want to work, you still want to be paid. And where the law is saying, you shall not be paid. It doesn't work like that, innocent. So it's not about going around threatening people, beating up people. No. Those are archaic ways of dealing with things. That's what the government. But they are the last resort where peace and security is threatened. That is why you saw, in fact, the IG was even more flexible. Because he was even giving the warning When in fact he should just have gone to arrest. Because the law provides that he can do that without warrant. And are we going to condemn him when he enforces the law which is there? No, we are not. Because why is it that we want the law to be applied selectively? When it is leaders, we say they must be held accountable by the law. When it is private citizens, the law should be flexible. It shouldn't be as strong. Especially now. If you remember, Innocent, I was on this show. I don't know if it was this show or the other one, where I said, as we start to run towards elections, we shall see non-state actors jumping on board to get some mileage.
I did mention that.
Let me tell you.
I did mention that actually in one of the shows.
Yes,
that
let me tell you.
To say from now up to August 12, we are going to see a number of issues coming up because people want to take advantage because of the elections.
But the question,
all right? But
should we allow?
And should we blame such kind of people? Because maybe somehow again, government has not done its part as well. Really, should we blame them for that?
They have every right to do it within the realms of the law.
Right.
But don't go and make a shortcut, and hoping that when the law visits you, then you say, "No, I'm being victimized." You can't be victimized when you've broken the law. It doesn't work that way. And what we are saying is that even when they've broken the law, let's still engage them. But then they refuse engagement. So what options do you think are on the table? Yesterday, when I said, let's have the president and sit with me so that we discuss. He refused. He decided to get a phone call. Today, they were called in a meeting. They come so that no one will be arrested. Even the assurance given, no one is going to arrest you because we are not there to arrest you. We are there to guide you and help each other so that we hear your points of view and maybe you understand each other when we are talking. They refuse. And then they are talking from the social media. It's provide leadership. You are a leader. Now, if you know that you are right, why should you fear the police? You don't fear the police when you are right. And people will see that they are victimizing you. At our level as permanent secretaries, wanting to meet these colleagues and explain to them, educate them, we would lead them into a trap to be arrested. Why? Why would we do that? We can't take that shallow. No, we wouldn't do that. They have a legitimate concern. And the concern must be addressed, not to be arrested. That is not the essence. It is to address the concern. Now, when we're addressing the concern, we must sit down. But don't hold anyone to ransom to say, until I will not come for work. It will not work that way. And no, any other leader, I don't know anyone who will come here and say it is okay. And say, okay, tomorrow if you are president, you would allow that. You see, the president of this country, Dr. Edgar Chagwa, if you see his nature, is that engage, strengthen social dialogue. He says, even consult those that are affected most by what we are doing. Bring them to the table. Sit down and discuss. Don't be arbitrary in your dealings. And that is the guidance we've been given. And we are saying, yes, we're not going to do things arbitrarily. You who has a concern, sit down. But then you refuse. Now, even when you are refusing, you have no legitimacy of discussing this matter which you are being given. It's because of the respect and the prominence that you hold in society that you are being consulted.
Holding someone at ransom. You know, there is also a statement coming from, and please, I need to understand, I need to put a disclaimer here that you are not a politician, but of course this comment is related, it attaches to our discussion right now. There is a statement coming from Antonio Mwanza, who is the media director under the Patriotic Front. You are not a politician. I want to emphasize that to you and the people of Zambia. And you are not bound to comment on political issues. But this issue hinges on your professionalism and also regarding the happenings at UTH. Antonio Mwanza says those people is appealing to government, appealing to you in government, to maybe possibly fire those people, dismiss those people if at all they are not willing to listen to government. According to him, there are a lot of people on the list that can be employed and do that job, which those people are, playing around with, according to Mr. Antonio Mwanza. How do you make of such kind of a sentiment of someone advocating to have these doctors be sacked?
Now, you have done very well. I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
and I don't want to engage myself in politics.
But the statement borders on your professionalism.
Let me tell you one thing.
Yeah.
There are also other politicians which have refused to comment on that are saying don't deal with anything, just in fact supporting the strike. I also not comment on those. And they know the names that are there. If you go on Facebook, you find them. I will not divulge myself in such. I will let the politicians, the politicians have a battleground. They will give their opinions. They will give how they see it. And Antonio was a spokesperson for the party. I am not.
But do you sympathize with your workers when you receive such kind of sentiments? Do you sympathize?
Remember, that's why I'm saying that ours is, even when there is this confusion, we take the path of what? Dialogue.
Right.
Huh? We plead, come to the table, let's sit down and talk. And let's agree on a roadmap. The roadmap might be difficult. So, and then we guide you on the path to take. The problem is that if you refuse to heed, then we say, oh, the law will take its course. And then we fold our hands and start to wait the law to take its course. When the law takes its course, we come and point that this is what we told you. We told you, don't take this path because the implications are these. Don't take path because the implications are these.
Right.
So we will guide you. That's why you see, you have a right. You don't have to believe me. Huh? You have every right to say, he's talking nonsense. He doesn't mean well. The famous, it doesn't mean well for this country, it doesn't mean well for the doctors. You have the right.
And you've heard those comments.
But you see, the problem comes that when it happens, I have lived enough in that ministry, and I've lived enough as a labor officer, for instance, as a labor commissioner and as a PS, to see how things flip because of lack of reading.
I want to find out the effectiveness of your labor inspectors. You know, generally, I think in the past number of years, I've been in the media personally, going in the fields, gathering stories, covering these protests, strikes. You can talk about people, of course, they're attacking your office to say the labor inspectors are not doing enough to address or to help satisfy the challenges that the workers in Zambia are facing. And you are here as peers, as we face into that camera, in an honest manner. How effective are your labor officers? Okay. Because there are some insinuations going on there that your labor officers are the most possibly corrupt individuals. Each time they go to inspect maybe at this institution, the moment they see the employers, they will easily get envelopes and chase those workers. From there, the issue dies like that.
Good. You see, number one,
I want to cruise what
I will
already my director gives me a signal. Yeah.
Director giving the signal here. But you see, this is quite
no manage.
Now, on the corruption index, have you seen any labor officer there? Or labor office? It's not there, isn't it? In the last 20 years, have you ever heard the labor officer being prosecuted for corruption? Zero. Those are perceptions. Now, the labor officers work in very trying conditions because once they make a decision that doesn't support the employee, then they are corrupt, the employer has corrupted them. If they make a decision against the employer, then the employees have agreed to pay them after he's paid. It is that scenario. The labor officers are not in of that. And we have said, if you find labor officers that bring them to the front, we will remove them from the public service. I personally have given that warning. Any labor officer who is corrupt and you prove, bring them to my office, I will take them out. Because we are trained to save people, not to abuse people. We have been trained to ensure that there is social justice at a place of work. But we shall not allow any of the two parties, whether employer or employee, to abuse the other. You see, the problem is people want to turn us into what? Employee activists. We are not. The employee activists are trade unions. And you see, the labor officers can't be everywhere. That's why we have 75 trade unions right now. What are they doing in those sectors? That is why now you take them to task at sector level. If you choose the leaders and are not representing you adequately, you remove them, you vote them out, you bring new leaders. But we are happy with the current crop of the trade unions because they are engaging. They are engaging with the employers, they are engaging with the government, they are engaging with the workers themselves. That's why you have seen industrial harmony. Now, if there are challenges, come, we shall help you actually resolve that. So from the labor point of view, the labor inspectors and the workers, it's a challenging time. And the other thing is that let's be patriotic. The moment someone's skills changes, then he's all knowing. The complaints we receive, we ask, but where have you been? I was scared to be fired. Now, since you have come to report, has your work been spared? Let's not trust a foreign at excellent Zambian. You mistrust the labor office you have never been, and you trust a person abusing you. Abusive employment relationship is never a safe one. No matter how you see it. If a person says you are scared of firing, outwardly will fire you. So before he does that, bring him over so that you, the employee, and us as Minister of Labor, we face that abuser.
In several companies, in several institutions, you find that the safety of workers is something that, leaves much to be desired.
Good.
Which is one of your mandate to ensure that the safety of workers is well complied with. But, wow, if you go on the ground, you find that the story seems to be different. Are you impressed in the way you've managed, these labor-related matters as you wind up?
Yes, as I wind up.
Yeah.
The law has now empowered us. In the past, we didn't have the power to suspend operations. You have heard the cries from the Zambia Federation of Employers and others about the suspension of works where we find the lives of the Zambians at risk. People have been locked up against their will, but we don't know.
Sure.
And when you go there, people run away. How do you help? Running out, literally taking off. Now, how can we help? So, where we find grave violation of, we suspend the operations until compliance is achieved. And we have done that. So we are telling people, bring these matters to the fore. Don't trust people that are abusing you. They don't mean well for you. They end up first firing you, thinking that you are safe. They bring your friend, they fire him, and then start pointing to you. And then then you attack a government where you've never been. We're saying, let's change the narrative. The first line of defense at a place of work is you, the employee. You are the first line. Bring these matters to the Ministry of Labor so that we help you deal with them.
How much courage, PS, would you have as government, as Minister of Labor, to penalize a private sector or a private institution, for example, like Muvi TV, among other private institutions in Zambia?
Yes.
How much courage would you have to penalize them if at all you, as a government, which is supposed to lead by example to comply to these laws formulated by you yourselves, abrogating by not paying people their gratuities, by not paying people their arrears and the likes? Just like the doctors we are from talking about, among other institutions. Okay. You just talked about it.
Okay.
How much courage would you have to penalize the private sector?
We have done very well to give me that question of giving an example of Muvi. Muvi is owing your workers. Your workers are being owed. Have we closed you down?
And I've mentioned that it's general.
No, I'm
it's
giving
not
an
only
example.
Muvi, but generally. Yeah.
Generally, because you have come as Muvi to the ministry to say, let's have a plan around how we're going to deal with these matters. Sure. There's no difference with government.
Right.
When there's a plan and you are sticking to the plan, there's no need to penalize you. And that is why I told you in the first instance that our first role as Minister of Labor is not to punish. It is not to dismiss. It is not to fire. It's not to imprison. It's not to arrest. It is to guide. We only come to penalize you when you have not now heeded to the guidance.
Right.
And this is why even the doctors that are there, we are guiding them. Go back for work so that you can now have a legitimacy of engagement. If you don't, you have ceased to have that legitimacy of being listened to. So even you as Muvi, and other institutions, there are institutions like where we know there are challenges. They have not been paid. But once there is a plan to work around it, we ensure and push that plan is achieved. That is what we do.
As you face into that camera, PS, I want you once again, as a Christian believer, when you sleep and wake up in the morning, or this evening before you go to bed, and then you reflect back from 2016 when you were appointed as a Labor Commissioner in the Ministry of Labor, today you are the man fully in charge after the minister left. How would you rate yourself in terms of your performance from 2016 until now? If you're going to answer that question again, I want you to find out would you want to be reappointed by ECL if you happen to bounce back in government after the 12th of August?
Number one.
Out of 10?
I would
Rate yourself.
In fact, it's very difficult to rate. You know, the best people that rate you are the people that you save.
Right.
The people that we've been saving, the things that I've mentioned as achievements, looking at the last 5 years, should be able to speak. If our great president gets back and gives me an opportunity, would I say no? Why would I say no? Even yourself, unless I have misconducted myself. You understand?
Right.
But if he is in wisdom and in wisdom that yes, I'm performing well, he needs, he will accept, and I cannot even go there because that's a prerogative.
Would you want to go back to the Ministry of Labor or maybe to another ministry because
No,
of
I
this
wouldn't.
pressure?
I wouldn't. Well, there's no. When you know what you are talking about, and you see the goodness that. For myself, I never indulge myself in things I don't understand to talk about them.
Right.
I will let those that I don't understand, the people that understand, talk about them. When I sit down to talk to you about something, it's because I have had the experience over it. I have the experience of handling it. I only speak to things that I understand and help others to understand and encourage others to read and understand what we're talking about.
I want you to swear that the conversation we've had for the past 1 hour, you've not lied anything. I want you to swear, as you face into that camera, to the people of Zambia, that you've not lied and you mean what you've said.
I am a Christian.
Yeah.
I will not swear. Christians don't do that. Let your no be your no and your yes be yes.
But of course,
I have spoken things in all honesty. Because when I lie, they will backfire.
Do you remember the day when you were appointed as PS? You saw?
I think 4th October.
Yeah?
Like yes.
You saw, not so?
I remember, yes. And you see, that's why...
And you were a Christian?
Yes, and I was to do what? To defend what?
Yeah.
The Constitution, the President told me that.
And defend your words, that you will not lie.
Yes, and why should I lie? Because if I lie, it will backfire on me. I will not be lying to the Zambian people, I will be lying to myself. And I don't want to lie to myself. Right. But what I need to do is to help guide the labor market. That is what I am appointed to do. And that was I am appointed to save, is to save the Zambian people. And by the way, I am passionate about the Zambian people, myself, because I've lived elsewhere. I have seen how people love each other. I have seen how people love their own selves. For me, a Zambian comes first, and then others later. And you can even for you, innocent, you can vouch for me. Right. That when it involves a Zambian and another person I will not mention, it is a Zambian who wins. And that is a part that I'm going to do. Now, lastly, I just want to appeal to our learned and hard-working doctors. We are without you, without your hard work, P.S. Madam said something. Theirs is a noble cause. P.S. Marupenga, P.S. Chimbwali, and myself, we say strikes and this is that's not legitimate way of resolving things. In labor relations, we sit down and talk and agree. We can differ, yes. It's one-off. We differ, but let's get back together because we have only this country and our people to protect and save.
Right.
So, doctors that are listening to me, I urge you, I'm pleading with you this time, go back for work.
Right.
Let's sit down and talk about your matters because the strike has dire consequences. I don't want to be starting to mediate on dismissals. I don't like that.
Right.
Let's sit down and help Zambia to move to greater heights. And I think we owe up to you people.
Thank you so much, PS. I appreciate you for coming once again. And I might mention that you're one of the very courageous, government officials that whenever there's a hot issue, you wouldn't shy away from the camera. You want to face it and explain issues as they are. Thank you so much once more.
Thank you so very much, Innocent, and my regards to the Zambian people and that we have won this country. Let's work hard and make the best of it.
Thank you so much to the viewers out there. We appreciate you as well for your viewership and also contributions. I want to believe and trust in the Almighty God that the PS managed to attempt or managed to respond to some of the questions. If he failed, then I'm sure there is always next time. My name is Innocent Piri. Allow me to also appreciate my producer, Cedric Sinkonjera, my camera person, Christopher. Thank you so much. And also, Utunensuna Chagwa team or delegation, we appreciate you for televising this program live. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.
You know, say,